So welcome to the tutorial on migrating Drupal to Ruby on Rails. This is an old version of Drupal. It's 7.4 and we're gonna take this content from the database and migrate it. So what we have here is a really simple blog. Actually, nothing of that exists except the patterns, which is blog posts. And this block is just a way to navigate through the blog post. So instead of this, we'll add below this list of basically the same list of this post is gone we see here. So we just add this pagination, kind of this, or maybe infinite scroll in the bottom, and let's quickly scan what we have for each post. So we have this title and we have the tags. So we have the date, the post date, and actually each post is either visible or not. So we're gonna check the status field in Drupal for that, and let's just see what's inside of the post. So just simply text and kind of sometimes fonts, but basically it's just HTML with styles, and images, of course, and we have kind of breadcrumbs and which kind of don't work. So the main reason behind this migration is, well, this domain runs on a very old Ubuntu version. I think it's 16.04, so it's really kind of really old and probably prone to different security attacks. So yeah, so also I'd like to keep the SEO intact, and so as we can see here, we don't have many meta tags like keywords or something that could, like, I don't know how to say, boost SEO or to have a correctly, we don't have many stuff related to SEO here. So another thing we have here is analytics, so that I should care about too. And let's go to the second part of actually checking the database. Let's get to the tables of Drupal. You might be familiar with these tables. You see the basic structure, comments, and context, node and node revision. So let's concentrate on those two. And for the node, if you press F4, it's a dbeaver. It's a nice database operational tool. You can it lists basically table. So what we see from nid, which is node ID, from 1 up to 21, we have equal nid and vid. What is vid? So vid is also node ID, like nid, and it's always equal to nid. It's an internal code of Drupal, I guess, which always sets a version equal to nid up to the point when you have more than one versions of that node, of that content, whatever it is. So here we have 22 and 23, and that means that 22 had initially another vid, another content, which we'll see later in node revision in just a bit, where it had, let's actually look at that here. So no, and nid 22 had 22 vid with this title and what else, all the other data here. So, and then you can see that we have the same title here, right? So probably I changed something in the text, and the newer version was published with vid 23. As you can see, since that point, if we go back to node, each nid had vid, vid equals nid plus 1, right? So if, for example, for this story, I had another version, so we would get 27 here, and I don't want to press enter, but we put 27 here, and for the next nodes, we would have like vid equals nid plus 2, right? So that's basic. That's what we have to understand about the node and node revision, nid and vid, so we could extract the data correctly. So if we go to the to the query window, I wrote this query initially to extract the relevant published nodes, and published means status equals to 1. I select page or story types and selecting everything from node revision. This is this table, and then I'm joining it on itself, and you can see I'm taking the maximum vid. It's exactly what I explained before. And then we're basically taking we're joining, of course, on that maximum values nid to our actually itself, right? And then we're just ordering by nid. So if I run it, I'm expecting to get the same result that we had before. Let's see. Yeah, same results indeed. And from here, let's go and play with exporting the actual data from Rails console. So with this information, we are creating a new Ruby on Rails app. And while it's creating it, in 2 words, we will use SQL gem. We'll write Ruby script that will export from the Drupal with that SQL gem and import into this newly created database in Rails with active record. And the only thing left to do is to cd to this newly created app and check our database. And as you can see, it's using this SQLite, which I don't personally like. And I will change it to MySQL. For that, I already prepared this configuration, and the only thing left to do is to change this username with my username and this password with my password, and save the file. With that, we will need to db create and db migrate. And the reason for that is we are using SQLite, and I will remove it, and instead I'm gonna add, I'm gonna bundle add MySQL 2. This is the preferred way to add gems because it will nail it to the minor version, as you can see here. And also I'd like to add the SQL gem, which I mentioned previously. And now bundle, and we're done. We're done with the gems. Now we will actually generate the model or the table like that. So we'll have the post model with title, description, and published bit. Great. Now let's connect with the console to the newly created database and post just nothing, and that's right. To connect to the Drupal, you will need these variables, and in just a moment you will see why. With this SQL Connect, you actually connect to the Drupal database. So with these settings, let's get the node revisions, and now let's also join the revisions with the node and filter by the story. Now we've got in this revision variable all the relevant data, 14 results, and we can of course show the VID in title. And now if we go over all revisions, and for each one we create a post with the data we just extracted, status, title, body, and we can also modify created add, the standard part of Rails timestamp. We convert the created like that. Let's run it, and now let's check what we've got in the posts. So posts first, post last. So as you can see, we can conclude that with these simple steps we have just migrated the relevant parts of Drupal.